Like I said, I'll only be there Saturday and Sunday. So if you haven't already bought your tickets, just buy Saturday and Sunday.
Please don't come talk to me about myself. I don't know what to say.
You're going to be a sweaty mess the whole Friday. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nerd You're Looking For podcast, a weekly nerd culture podcast that discusses the culture through various segments. My name is Patrick Kuhn, alongside my co-host, as always, that Tyler Hunt. How's it going, man?
It's going pretty well. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a long, busy week, but I'm looking forward to recording, as always.
Yeah, awesome. You just celebrated your birthday, so
I did.
Happy belated birthday.
Yep. And then my wife left. Not forever, but she left for the rest of the week because I don't get invited to their family vacations.
Well, that's rough. They must not like you.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding, of course, but I just couldn't get the days off from work. And so it actually kind of worked out because we've been having problems with the house. So we really couldn't.
You were going to say problems with your marriage.
No, we've been having problems with the house. And so we really probably couldn't afford it to board the dogs for that long.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out. I was just kind of the dog sitter for like a week.
Yeah. And you were talking about getting Witcher and stuff, so I'm sure you've been playing that a lot, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's awesome. I love it.
Honestly, like a few days by myself after my birthday are kind of what I would want for my birthday. So.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I mean, I still had to go to work and everything, and there was kind of a big thing that happened while I was gone at work, and somebody might get fired. I mean, I can't even get off one day and the shit goes to, well, shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was kind of weird because it was nice. Well, nice might not be the best word, but it felt good that something bad happened, that I wasn't there. So it just kind of reminds people how important I am at work. Cause I think some of the women I work with don't think that I do anything, but then I'm gone for one day and something catastrophic happens.
I don't know, man. You tweet a lot at work.
Well, I mean, I got a sick Twitter game, so.
It's hard to believe 2 weeks away from PopCon. Like this time in 2 weeks, we will be at Indie PopCon at our booth.
Yep.
That's crazy. It's been that thing that you look forward to for months and months, and now it's almost here.
Yep. I just literally ordered the last thing that we're going to order, before PopCon. I got new stickers with our new logo on them. So I'm really looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I will also not be able to get the days off for work for Indie PopCon. So I will be there Saturday and Sunday. It'll just be Tyler on Friday. So if you have already bought your tickets for Friday, I apologize because it's just going to be Tyler.
So if you want to come see a socially awkward individual with really poor social cues and skills, then come to our booth on Friday because I am not going to know what to do with my hands.
You never do.
It's going to be super awkward being there by myself Friday.
Yeah. It feels weird because I'm looking forward to it, but at the same time, I'm kind of bummed that I'm not going to be able to make it the whole time.
Yeah.
But it'll be a good time once I get there. We're planning on, giving something away, and we got some cool stuff planned. So I don't know exactly what we're going to talk about as far as recording at the booth like we did last year. We kind of did away with the Nerd Origins. So I doubt we're going to do that, especially because most of the same people are probably going to come again this year. They already gave the Nerd Origins last year. So we quite haven't decided what we're going to record, but we're definitely going to be recording. So that'll be good.
Probably a conversation we should have when we're not recording, but I was thinking something like nerd favorite.
Yeah.
It'd have to be a really good nerd favorite. So I don't know.
Yeah, I almost immediately go to like the favorite movie, but I know our friends over at The Obsessive Viewer did that last year. So we're always kind of close to what they do anyways.
Yeah.
So maybe we should probably stay away from that one. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That reminds me, I did want to make an announcement. Our podcast that week will be late. We've been recording for almost 2 years, and it's every Monday when we release. Well, now that we're weekly, it's every Monday. We've never missed one, but because we're going to release our Indie PopCon episode that week. It will be a couple of days late. I'm going to try to get it Tuesday, but most likely it's going to be probably Wednesday afternoon.
Cool. We should probably start thinking about what we're going to record on the stage too.
So we don't have to just throw it on our guest at the last minute.
God. Last year it was literally last minute.
Yeah. And he was so cool about it too.
We didn't know like what guests we were going to have. And we're like, we want to do a top 5, but if we have this guest, we'll interview them. And it was, oh man, that was stressful.
Yeah. I sent out those emails. So we'll hear back to see, if we have a guest. If not, we'll just figure it out.
Hopefully our good friend David Yoder will be there. He was there last year and he was our guest. So it'd be cool to run into him again and maybe have him on in one way or another.
For sure.
All right, cool, man. You ready to dive into this?
Yeah. Our first segment, if this is your first episode, is just kind of us checking in with each other. We call it what we're into. So Tyler, what are you into this week?
I watched a movie last night that just recently came out on video on demand and Blu-ray and all of that good stuff. And I wanted to see it in theaters and never got around to it. That movie is Focus, starring Will Smith and Margot Robbie. You
wanted to see this movie?
I was intrigued by it because I like the idea of like con artists and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it piqued my interest. I liked Margot Robbie a lot in Wolf of Wall Street, and I was eager to see her in this, especially knowing...
I'm always eager to see her.
No shit, man. Especially knowing that she's going to be Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad. I kind of want to see her in another movie. And I was looking at her filmography. I can constantly forget she's in About Time.
Oh yeah, because she's in it for like 2 seconds.
And I mean, she's fine in that movie, and I thought she was really good in Wolf of Wall Street, but if I'm being honest, she really was not very good in this movie.
Oh, really?
And it makes me a little nervous for Suicide Squad. Well, more nervous than I already was for Suicide Squad, but like I said, she's not very good in it. Will Smith is serviceable in it. He's Will Smith, as always. So, all in all, this movie's pretty average. It has some pretty cool twists and turns, but at a certain point, it almost just gets silly with the twists that are going on and the turns that are going on. There's also a part in the movie that I was really rolling my eyes at. Not without spoiling too much, they're at the Super Bowl and they get into this back and forth betting with this guy that they're in a suite with. So Margot Robbie and Will Smith. And basically it turns into this huge con that Will Smith's trying to pull off, and he explains it to Margot Robbie after the fact. And this is a little spoilerish, but oh well. But he explains it to her, and the psychology that he puts behind it is really dumb.
Okay.
And it's really weird. And it's kind of like that throughout the whole movie. Like Will Smith tries to lay on this psychological stuff on why this con works or why that con works and how people think and react. And some of it might be a little spot on, but some of it's just fucking crazy.
And you have a degree in psychology.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not sitting here saying, well, I have my bachelor's degree in psychology and I know psychology. It's just, as a moviegoer, what he's telling you is you kind of tilt your head a little bit and you're like, are you sure, Will Smith? That doesn't seem right. I mentioned that they're at the Super Bowl in a certain scene in this movie. It's really weird because I guess contractually they can't refer to it as the Super Bowl. You just see huge numerical numbers or Roman numerals to insinuate like it's Super Bowl 40 whatever. And the teams aren't NFL teams.
That sucks.
They're fake teams, and they're not even close to any team that's in the NFL.
That's weird because you would think that the NFL would want that exposure.
Yeah, but
not that they need to be more popular, but you would think that they would be okay with it.
It just really took me out of the movie. The way that in The Dark Knight Rises, having the fake football team in The Dark Knight Rises didn't bother me, but having them being portrayed by real Pittsburgh Steelers, that was a little distracting. Yeah, it took me out of the movie a little bit. Well, this took me out of the movie because I'm just sitting there saying, well, these aren't real teams. Like, this is really strange. If you couldn't get the NFL to agree to let you use real team names or use the Super Bowl trademark, then why make it a Super Bowl game? Yeah. Like, them being at the Super Bowl has nothing to do with the plot.
It could have been any sport.
Yeah, it could have been any sporting event. It could have been at an NBA game, and it would have made sense.
Racetrack, anything.
Yeah, anything. So it just didn't make sense to me. And little pieces like that were scattered throughout the movie that just didn't make sense. But I'd recommend maybe watching it on Netflix whenever it hits Netflix. Like, it's worth a watch, but I mean, it's nothing extraordinary. And I think that's kind of the critical reception that it got to.
All right, cool. I will probably never watch this movie.
Yeah. And that's fair. I'm not going to push you to, because like I said, it's nothing special. All right, man. What are you into?
I am into a movie as well. And I know it's a movie that you've seen, and I think we're going to disagree a little bit on it, because I have a feeling that I know how you felt about this movie. Anyways, I went and saw this movie on my birthday, at the Royal Suite, which is something that I know you've talked about before on the podcast. I think when you went and saw, what was it? Gods and King?
Exodus.
Yes. And, I know you had a good time.
Well, it's a good time in the Royal Suite, not a good time with the movie.
Yeah, basically, if you haven't listened to that episode yet, it is a like high-end movie theater that has really nice recliners, and it's a restaurant movie theater / bar kind of hybrid. And it was really interesting. I like the atmosphere. It's basically, I kind of equated it to flying first class.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, it's like the first class of watching a movie. And I went and saw Spy. I'm not sure why I was so vague on like being super secretive about the movie that I was about to talk about, because I'm sure you've read the show notes by now.
Yeah.
But anyways, I went and saw Spy at the Royal Suite on my birthday. It was just kind of a fun little thing. It wasn't necessarily a movie that I was dying to see. It just, I really wanted to try the Royal Suite, and that's the best movie that had come across it in a while. I didn't want to see Age of Ultron because I thought it would be weird, the waitress coming in and out, and
yeah,
I don't know. I just didn't
want. It's definitely better served for comedies, I would say. And
I really just kind of wanted to see a movie that I didn't necessarily care that much about.
Yeah.
So if I was distracted, it didn't really make a whole lot of a difference. And I wasn't that interested in seeing this movie just because I'm not a huge Melissa McCarthy fan. Not because I don't think she's talented. I just don't think she's written very well. Mostly because it seems like every movie that comes out, it's just her falling down, and I'm supposed to be think that's hilarious. And she's essentially the female Kevin James.
Yeah, it's a good analogy.
Yeah, I just, it drives me crazy, which is funny because I haven't seen Tammy, but from what I hear, that's all Tammy is her falling down, which is weird because I believe that her husband wrote that movie. And so you would think that he would, write her in more flattering terms, but whatever. I was actually really pleasantly surprised at how much I liked Spy. It wasn't a whole lot of that. There was a couple of jokes here and there where it was, laugh at that she fell down and she's fat. Like, the most notable example is she gets on a scooter and then she tries to drive away and the scooter falls down. I'm just like, come on. That was just a fat joke. Fat people can't ride scooters. That's hilarious. But for the most part, it was really good stuff. It wasn't just her falling down or her making a fool of herself. It was really funny. I liked Rose Byrne in this movie, which I don't like her, by the way. And I think I'm definitely in the minority. I think people really like her as an actress, and a lot of people think that she's beautiful, and she is, but I just don't think she's as beautiful as everybody makes her out to be.
Sorry, she's not up to your standards. Jeez.
Well, anyways, I thought she was really funny in this movie. I really liked Jude Law and Jason Statham in this movie. I thought they played really great parts. There was a bit of a twist with Jude Law's character that I kind of saw coming from basically the get-go. When something happens off camera, I've seen enough movies to kind of question that.
Immediately, as soon as that happened, I turned to my wife and called it.
Yeah, I mean,
especially in a spy movie like that, it's so very obvious. I don't know.
And so, I mean, I really enjoyed this movie. I've been getting it on Blu-ray. I liked it that much.
Oh, wow.
And my wife loved it. And it's really, I mean, we both love movies, but it's just weird because we don't generally we like the same movies, but we generally don't get excited for the same movies. Like, she really liked this movie, and I wouldn't say I really liked it, but I liked it enough that we kind of shared similar enthusiasm for the film afterwards.
What would you give a star rating?
I would say right now, probably 3.5. But with comedies, it's kind of weird. It's second viewing. Maybe I bump it down to a 3. There was one thing that I didn't like about this movie, and I find myself saying this a lot, and I don't want our listeners to think that I'm complaining about runtime a lot, because it honestly doesn't bother me that much. But with a movie like this, it was 2 hours, which is really long for a comedy. It could have easily been an hour and 40 minutes. And yeah, there wouldn't have been as many jokes, but I think the joke density of the jokes that actually landed would have been a lot more. I would have found myself laughing a lot more, because there was 5 to 10 minute spans where I didn't laugh at all.
Yeah.
It would have been better if they cut some of the bits out. Like, for example, like, they kept cutting to the basement where Melissa McCarthy's character first works, and then she gets promoted to being out in the field. And they'll cut to the basement, and there's like bats, or there's rats and that bit for me, and they kept going back to it.
Yeah.
And it just completely was just dead.
It didn't make any sense.
No, it was stupid. I hated it.
So I don't like this movie as much as you did, which is surprising because I know your disdain for Melissa McCarthy. And the only reason I saw this was because of my wife. She is a huge Melissa McCarthy fan, which is weird, I know. But ever since Bridesmaids, like every time she's in a movie, she drags me to it. So I've seen Tammy and Identity Thief and all these garbage Melissa McCarthy movies. So whenever this movie was coming out, I was really against seeing it. And she half dragged me to it, but it was getting such good reviews that I actually kind of wanted to see it. So we went and saw it after we recorded the last episode, actually. And it wasn't bad, and like you said, I really appreciate that it wasn't all fat jokes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with it being Paul Feig.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it?
Sure.
Paul Feig movie, because I don't know, his movies tend to kind of steer away from that kind of stuff. I don't want to say he's more highbrow because this definitely isn't like a highbrow comedy movie.
Did he write The Heat? I know he directed The Heat.
I want to say he wrote it, and
which is disappointing because that's all that movie is too.
Yeah, but I think more of Bridesmaids. Like that movie is again not highbrow. I mean, there's a point in the movie where they all shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Maya Rudolph shits in the street, but I mean, he treats Melissa McCarthy with a little bit more respect than
for sure
other movies do. So I appreciate that a lot. I thought Jason Statham was hilarious in it.
Oh yeah.
I loved his character in it because it wasn't what I was expecting. But I didn't laugh that much. And
oh, really?
Yeah, I think, honestly, I laughed more than my wife did, which was surprising. But
did she not like it?
Honestly, she didn't like it as much as I thought she would. I think she might have liked it a tad more than I did, but I would have given it a 3. So I didn't hate it by any means. It's just, I guess my expectations for it were pretty high because of the reviews it was getting.
Yeah.
I would watch it again, and I don't know, maybe whenever it's in the $5 bin or something, I'll pick it up on Blu-ray.
Oh, I'll be getting it when it's released.
Yeah, and I understand that. And I don't think you're alone in that sentiment. It's just, for whatever reason, it didn't hit for me. And I think a lot of it might have been, like you said, the runtime. It's just the pacing was a little off.
Yeah, for sure. And I wasn't crazy about the ending. I thought the ending was a little bit ridiculous. Like, it could have ended like 6 times before that, and it just felt like they were dragging it a little bit. And that, again, goes back to the runtime. I find myself complaining about movies' runtimes a lot, but it really doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah.
But, yeah, this one definitely got me.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. Not only was it not a lot of fat jokes, but she was actually pretty decent as a spy. Like, there's a scene where they show her in the academy. Yeah, and she's
they do a really good job of justifying it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
I really liked that aspect of it because I thought it was just going to be.
Well, the poster's misleading. It's her. Yeah. One, I didn't know that she didn't look like she does on the poster. Yeah. And so on the poster, she's in like her older lady get up. Yeah. With like the short curly hair, and it makes it look like I didn't really even realize it was a Paul Feig movie. So it makes it look like it's a Tammy or an Identity Thief. So
I just liked how it seemed like a realistic choice. Like, she should have been out in the field this whole time, and they kind of justified why she wasn't. Movies like this, generally, it's just kind of completely ridiculous how they get that character in that situation. Yeah. And I liked how this seemed pretty realistic.
Yep, I agree.
All right. So our next segment is just plainly called Comics. Tyler and I read a lot of comics, and we'd like to spotlight one each episode. So Tyler, what are you reading this week?
I was actually surprised to bring this one up, but I'm going to talk about Arkham Knight #5. Okay. Which is kind of really obscure. I think I talked about Arkham Knight #1, and I mean, we've both been on record about how much we love these games, how excited we are for it. So of course I'm reading the comic that takes place between Arkham City and Arkham Knight. The thing about these comics though that kind of tie in to movies or games or whatever are they're usually just cash grabs. Yeah. They're usually just an extra thing that they can make money off of as far as this title goes. And Arkham Knight #5 really kind of went beyond that. It really surprised me. There are a lot of strong scenes in it. The main villain arc right now in the comic is Bane, and he's written really well. He's written very strong. It has a cool cliffhanger with him and Batman at the end of it. You can kind of guess the cliffhanger, how it's going to resolve itself, because Batman has a game coming out afterwards, but it's still pretty cool. And there's like one sequence that really impressed me, and it has to deal with Barbara Gordon, who's Oracle. So she's in a wheelchair. There's an opening scene with Jim Gordon, Bruce Wayne, and Barbara. And after that's over, she's going through a park home in her wheelchair, and a guy tries to mug her, and she kicks the shit out of him from her wheelchair, which I thought was really strong and really awesome. Obviously, she used to be Batgirl, and she makes like a little comment about how she should do that more often. And I thought that was really awesome. Not only are you showing a really strong female character, but you're showing a really strong disabled character, which I love. I know that DC got a lot of flack whenever they took her away from the Oracle persona and put her back in the Batgirl costume whenever the New 52 launched, because she was such a strong, I don't want to say role model, but a strong representation of the disabled community. So it was kind of cool to see her do that. But all in all, it was a really strong issue. Yeah,
I'd actually heard good things about this particular issue. Not so much the comic miniseries in general, but just this particular issue. And I kind of regretted not picking it up. And I love Bane. I love Bane in these games because he's much more the comic book Bane.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm excited to see if I'm sure he's going to be in Arkham Knight.
I don't know. I guess maybe this comic can answer it since it's his kind of a main plot line, but
sure.
But yeah, it's been really good.
All right, cool, man.
What are you into?
Well, you're
comic wise.
Yeah. Well, you're going to hate me because I'm going to talk about Secret Wars number 3, and I know that you are not a fan of it, but whatever. This issue, and I've talked about 1 and 2 in past episodes, this issue was the slowest of the 3 as far as action goes. Don't laugh at me.
Sorry. They're all fucking slow. All right,
First one was not.
I'm going to let you do your piece. Go ahead.
You going to let me finish?
Yeah, sorry.
Anyways, and it reminded me a lot of Game of Thrones. We've talked about this before. Game of Thrones is kind of infamous for having slower episodes that kind of set up bigger ones. Like they'll spend a couple episodes building up a particular story arc or a particular character, and then it usually pays off. So I think that this book is definitely going to pay off. I liked the dynamic between Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange. I thought that was interesting about how basically when they started Battle World that they treat Doctor Doom like a god, and they call him a god, but Doctor Strange also, they kind of acknowledge that it could have easily been him and that he didn't want it. And it sets up a really cool dynamic. So I appreciate that. And you get a little bit of a softer side of him when he's talking to, God damn it. What is her name? Susan Storm.
Yeah.
God damn it. I don't know why I couldn't think of her name for a second there. And so you get a little bit of a softer side with him. So I liked that. And I liked the Thanos kind of cliffhanger at the end. I'm really excited to see how that pays off. Is Namor with him? I want to say that's Namor that's with him, the submariner.
Yeah, I don't remember, but that would make sense.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how his storyline plays out because I think he's always been an interesting character to me. He's never been written all that well, but I think he's definitely an interesting character. So I'm excited to see how him and Thanos kind of play into this battle world.
Yeah. I like this issue more than issue 2, especially because we kind of get a glimpse of our heroes that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
In the middle portion. And it was intriguing to see how Thanos will be wrapped into this because I love Thanos and he's such a strong character, but still garbage. I talked so much shit on Convergence when Convergence 1 came out, and I wish I would have just stuck with Convergence because this comic gives me a headache and I'm so upset that I'm sticking with it. And now I think we decided to review it in a future episode once it kind of wraps up. Spoiler alert. And, now I have to stick with it.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know what to say.
When I say I don't understand it, I don't mean like I don't understand the plot. I mean, I don't understand why the fuck they're doing this. Like, I don't get the point of it. And it's such a blatant ripoff of Game of Thrones to me. And with Marvel characters, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely has that Game of Thrones feel to it, like I said, but I'm enjoying it a lot. I like to see these characters that I've grown up with and that I love in a different scenario, in a different setting. I think it's interesting, but obviously you don't.
Nope, I sure don't.
All right. Well, that being said, we'll just go ahead and move on to our next segment, which is Tyler's Baby Nerd News.
I don't know if I'd call it my baby, but
I think we're going to have this conversation every time. I'm going to keep calling it your baby. You're going to keep saying, well, I don't know if it's my baby because you post these to Twitter all the time.
Anyways, Nerd News, we're just going to talk about some of the top nerd-related stories that have broke since the last time we recorded. So I'm going to jump right in with a few stories, I guess. So The first one is Star Wars related, but not Force Awakens. We're talking New Hope here, the original Star Wars. And it appears that an old script for A New Hope was discovered in a library, and I'm trying to find the name of the library, but my fucking Safari app keeps crashing. It's the library in the University of New Brunswick's, the St. John is the name of the library in the University of New Brunswick. And one of the original drafts of the script, I mean, Luke Skywalker is still referred to as Luke Starkiller.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty early draft, but basically why it's significant is the people that have been able to read it. One of the librarians says it's very obvious that Han shot first in the script.
Yeah.
So, Han shooting first and Greedo shooting first has been this huge debate for the last, almost 20 years since George Lucas did the edits and put out the special edition of the Star Wars movies. So this kind of confirms it, and I don't know, nerds everywhere, I guess, a little happy, so.
For me, it's not much of a story. I feel like it's kind of a stretch. I mean, it's clear that Han shot first in the original, and they digitally remastered it.
Yeah.
And then there's some debate who shot first. It's Han. Han shot first.
I mean, no, that's how I feel too, and I think that's how everybody feels. I guess it's just one of those things where it's like when toddlers fight, and everybody, that you're right, but the other toddler's saying, no, you're not right.
Yeah.
In this instance, the other toddler is George Lucas. And he's saying, no, you're not right. No, you're not right. So you're just getting him to admit it. But I mean, he doesn't even own the rights to the franchise anymore or anything.
Yeah.
It's like he's almost so far removed from The Force Awakens. There's rumors that Disney's going to put out the original trilogy. At this point, I think you just kind of tally it as a win and move on.
Yeah, for sure.
It's one of those arguments I've never really gotten into.
I don't care.
All right, moving on. So James Cameron loves Terminator Genesis.
Oh, yeah?
Have you seen this video?
No, I have not.
So James Cameron has famously spoke out against Terminator 3.
Because it's a garbage movie.
And also Terminator Salvation. And, he directed the first two Terminators.
Yep.
Those were his baby. And there's this video out now, and I watched it. It's like 3 or 4 minutes and him just praising Terminator Genesis. He said this is the real third movie in the franchise and yada, yada, yada. And I don't know how genuine that is, or if he was paid off, or if he's doing it as a favor for his buddy Arnold Schwarzenegger, or what, since this is but I guess Arnold was involved with Terminator 3, so I don't know. Maybe he genuinely likes it.
Yeah.
But if anything could give me a little bit of hope for this movie, it's him saying that, because it looks like garbage. I don't know.
Do you think he watched the whole movie, or did you just watch that new trailer that they released? Because you essentially have watched the whole movie.
I would hope that he's actually watched it, but maybe he's so balls deep in the Avatar sequels that nobody wants that. I guess I shouldn't say that. It's like the highest grossing movie of all time.
Yeah.
But I don't want Avatar sequels. I don't know about you.
No, I don't.
But I'm a little all over the place. But anyways, the gist of it is he likes this movie, which is good, I guess.
I mean, it's encouraging. I don't have high hopes for it, but we'll see. We're going to review it on the podcast, so I guess we'll find out then.
Yeah, we'll see how high off his ass James Cameron is when we go and form our own opinions.
It doesn't seem like he endorses much, though, so.
Yeah, then that's what kind of gave me a little bit of hope for it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so this next story we haven't actually talked about on the podcast yet because it's so silly, but at this point I figure we might as well bring it up. So there's a Transformers writers room.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's basically 12 writers, and there's not a lot of huge names that I recognize except for Zach Penn and Robert Kirkman of The Walking Dead fame,
Yeah.
of course. But it's these 12 writers. They're in this room filled with Transformers memorabilia, and they're basically writing their own script for the franchise and kind of forming a timeline that they should go by. And it's really just shows how in trouble that Paramount is with this franchise. It seems like you bring 12 writers in and kind of tell them to all write a script and we'll make the best one. And it's a really weird situation.
Isn't that what they're doing with, well, it's not Paramount, but Warner Brothers with a lot of the DC stuff? It's just like...
Kevin Smith explained it on the Fat Man on Batman podcast, and I forgot how he put it, but yeah, I can't even speak to it because I don't even know what's exactly
It seemed like that's exactly what they're doing with that.
Yeah, but not 12.
Yeah.
Like 12 different people are sitting there in a room writing Transformers movies. Like,
it seems like a weird environment, like a weird creative environment. Like you're essentially competing with someone.
Yeah. And it's so weird that Robert Kirkman's involved. Like it doesn't seem up his alley at all.
I thought you were going to bring up the, Ninja Turtles thing.
Oh no, cause that sounds... So basically Bumblebee is going to have a cameo in Ninja Turtles. But to me it sounds more like some street performer in cosplay, not like Bumblebee's going to roll up on him.
I don't know. I didn't actually read this story.
I
was so mad about it that I didn't even read the story.
See, that's the gist I got of it. I don't know that the article I read explicitly says that, but I mean, the real Bumblebee, like you can't have a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Transformers crossover, right?
You could.
That's a bit of a shit show.
It is, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, have you watched the last couple Transformers movies? They are shit shows.
Yeah. I don't, that just seems crazy to me. But maybe it's just, I don't know. We'll see.
I don't want to see. I don't want it to happen. Maybe the Bumblebee from last year's Indie PopCon will be there.
That's what I'm saying. Is something like that I figure would be in it. Not like a real Bumblebee, like an alien Bumblebee like that. That seems too much. It's kind of silly saying that that's too much in a movie about mutant turtles that are mutated.
You better watch your mouth. Yeah. You better tread lightly.
Mutant turtles. But yeah, I mean, it's such a crazy concept that we've all become accustomed to that.
Yeah.
Is it really that weird that robots that turn into cars would be in that universe?
No, I just don't want it to happen.
No, I mean, me too. I'm just saying. All right. Moving on. So Nathan Fillion's in Halo 5.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So they have a lot to prove with Halo 5, seeing as the Master Chief Collection was such a muddled mess, and that was like the first thing that this new studio did with Halo. So I guess there's
Who's making this
343?
They made the last one, didn't they?
Did they?
Halo 4, I'm almost certain it was.
Okay, maybe you're right. I thought that was their first.
Yeah, when you said that thing about Master Chief, I was like, I don't think that's right.
I'll take your word on it since you're such a huge Halo guy.
I'm almost positive, like 99% sure that Halo 4 was it. But Halo 4 wasn't the greatest game either. So, I mean, your point still remains.
Yeah. But anyways, I think there's like 8 different playable characters in the campaign. And I don't know that Nathan Fillion's one of them, but he might be. I didn't get that from this article. But have you seen the picture of him in the game?
No.
It looks really weird. Like it looks almost identical.
So he's not a Spartan.
He's in Spartan armor.
But you can still see his face.
So he's not like Master Chief.
Yeah.
Like,
I got you.
I don't know. I don't play the Halo campaigns. I only play the multiplayer. But anyways, so there's 8 characters. 4 of them are Spartans. And then the other 4 are human characters that are called Fireteam Osiris. Is that
sure
familiar? And all of them have their masks off. Or they're not wearing helmets.
Yeah, I got you.
And Nathan Fillion is one of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
because why would he be in that game?
and it looks identical to him except like a computer generated one, and his neck looks a little long. It's weird. I don't know if I like it.
Okay.
Because again, that kind of would take me out of the game a little bit, right?
No, I mean, he plays make-believe characters in everything that he does.
But I don't control a movie. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, this guy looks and sounds like Nathan Fillion. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Alright, we'll move on. So, Chris Hemsworth is going to be in Ghostbusters, the remake being done by Paul Feig. Or Feig, or I really don't know how to pronounce his name.
See, this would take me out of the movie.
Chris Hemsworth being in this movie?
Yeah.
As the receptionist?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, they're just going all out.
Yeah.
With this lady Ghostbusters, which I have no problem with. I didn't mean for that to sound demeaning. I have no problem with it at all. Yeah. I'm excited for a new Ghostbusters movie, but this will take me out of it.
Why will it take you out of it?
Because he's being cast because he's Thor. And it's like, oh, well, there's Thor.
So is that going to take you out of Vacation when he's in it?
I didn't know he was going to be in
I
it.
thought you said you watched the Vacation trailer.
I did, but I didn't notice that oh yeah, he is in it, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in it. I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's in it. He's Audrey's husband.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So any movie Chris Hemsworth makes, you're going to be taken out of it because he's Thor.
Yes. And he's a
Okay.
bad actor.
All right.
He's not good.
Fair enough. I don't know. I think it's cool. It's whatever. Obviously, the receptionist in the original Ghostbusters movie is like the polar opposite of Chris Hemsworth. It's a female that's nasally, and I don't even remember what her name is. What is her name in that movie?
I don't know.
But
It doesn't
I don't
matter.
know. It's interesting. I'm honestly excited about this movie. Well, I don't know if excitement's the right word. I'm eager to see this movie.
Yeah.
I'm not all butthurt about them making it like some people are.
No,
So.
I
Alright, so did you see the Hunger Games Part 2 trailer?
did.
What'd you think?
I think it's going to be a lot more interesting than the part 1.
There was more action in the Part 2 trailer than there was in all of Part 1. So.
I almost tweeted that actually.
Really?
I enjoyed that 2-minute trailer more than I enjoyed that entire movie.
And honestly, that's what they get for splitting it into 2 parts.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they don't regret it because they got a shit ton of money,
yeah, for sure.
but it's a shitty movie.
Yeah, Part 1 was really bad, but
Do you own it? Did you buy it?
yeah.
I did not. I have not bought it yet.
I'm a completionist. So, I own the first 2 and if the Part 2 is good, I'll get that and I just have to own the whole saga.
Yeah, me too, but I'm going to wait. I didn't get it when it first came out.
Yeah.
I'll wait until it's
I'm a
cheaper.
sucker. I complain about stuff and then give them my money anyways.
I'm not going to see Pirates 5. I'm not going to. Do not ask me. I will say no.
That's all right.
And probably kick you in the dick.
All right. I won't ask you. I really don't want to be kicked in the dick. I saw this trailer before Jurassic World and my wife just looks over at me and says, I'm so ready for this to be over.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
The first one was good. Catching Fire was fucking awesome. I've seen that movie multiple times since we saw it in the theater and it still holds up. And then part 1 is just so bad. It's so fucking boring.
Yeah, it's terrible. I own it now, like I was just saying, and I'll never watch it.
Oh, I'll buy it and then watch it just because I have that weird rule about if I buy something, I have to watch it. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to it.
Moving on. So, this isn't a huge news story, but I have to bring it up because it has personal significance to us.
Okay, cool.
So, like, Wednesday or Thursday, like, right after we went to pub trivia for your birthday Tuesday.
Yep.
It was announced who Chiwetel Ejiofor will be playing in the Doctor Strange movie.
Yep.
He's playing Baron Mordo. So,
Fucker.
So, why this is significant to us is at pub trivia, which we went to Tuesday night for Pat's birthday, there was a matching round where you had to match the villain to the comic book character that they're associated with. And we did awesome on it, but there were 2 that we got mixed up. And one of them was Baron Mordo. We gave to, I think,
it was Captain Marvel. We said that he was a villain for Captain Marvel, and then we said that Mr. Mine was
Doctor Strange.
Was Doctor Strange. Because logically that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. And had this news story broke like 24 hours sooner, we would have done 100% on that.
Yeah.
So I was just like kind of like, God damn it.
And then we would have done 100% on that basketball question if they had a better fucking picture. I'm still not convinced that wasn't Al Harrington.
We'll just keep moving on without mentioning what position we got in pub trivia on Tuesday night. It was last. We got last place. All right. This last one is the biggest story to break this week. The Punisher is going to be in the next season of the Daredevil, and he is going to be played by John Bernthal.
Sure.
Is that how you pronounce it?
I have no idea. I don't think I've ever heard it pronounced before.
I think that's close. It's John Bernthal. I don't know how else you could pronounce it. I'm sure there's the right way. That's how but that's how
keep doing it in case you're wrong. So you're just going to keep doing it wrong.
All right. So I think you and I disagree on this a little bit, judging on some of the stuff you tweeted out. But what are your initial thoughts?
I like the characters in the season, but I don't like the casting. I don't think he's a very good actor.
I think he's serviceable. I think the thing that we have to keep in check here is the Punisher is going to be on a TV show.
Yep.
So we're not going to get Tom Hardy to play the Punisher or some big actor that would be awesome. I just think you have to kind of keep your expectations in check if it's going to be on a TV series. And I don't think that he is a bad actor. I think that he has his moments where he's fine.
I don't think he's that good.
So I'm super pumped for this. I think that it's going to be a cool dynamic between the characters, because obviously Punisher's fine with using lethal force and Daredevil's not. And I think that it's going to be awesome to see it again. It's going to be awesome to see him in multiple episodes on a show. Maybe it'll spin off into his own thing. It's just building the Marvel universe some more. And of course, all for that. And Punisher is like top 3 Marvel characters for me. So, he's awesome. I love that.
Are you reading the new run?
Yeah, I'm really far behind on it, but I am reading it.
It's really cool.
It is. It's really good. I can't wait to see that character on screen again. I thought the Thomas Jane movie wasn't that terrible.
No, I mean, I could have done without John Travolta.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
But the Punisher Warzone movie, oh god, that is some weird shit.
Yeah.
It's just really out there. So I'm cool, or I'm excited to see them do this character again and actually be done by Marvel, who has obviously a fantastic track record, and hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. That is all I have for nerd news.
This episode, we are going to be reviewing Jurassic World that just got released the other day, and it's just printing money right now. It's ridiculous. I highly doubt that they expected it to do this well, and we're going to review it on this episode. So Jurassic World, I'm going to do my quick little synopsis that I do for every movie.
Did you write this yourself?
I did, actually. I wrote this one myself.
I'm eager to hear.
Okay. 20 years after the original film, the park is now operational and has been for several years, but after declining visitor rates, a new attraction is created.
That was pretty nice. Like IMDb or somebody should hire you. Or maybe like
I'm pretty good at it.
Movie studio that needs quick plot outline written.
I'm pretty good at it. I do it for every review that I do on the website. So yeah. Well, normally, Tyler, you start, because I usually do my little intro and then I get tired of talking. But I think we can switch it up, and I'll go ahead and go first.
All right, be my guest. I'm actually really curious we didn't get to see it together. We haven't, we have not talked about it at all. Not a single word.
But let's be honest, when we do go see a movie together, we're completely silent as we're walking over. Oh, see you later. Yep. Yeah. When we're recording, okay, cool. See ya.
I'm really eager to, I have no idea what you thought of it, so I'm really eager to hear what you say.
Generally, going into a movie, especially a movie that I know we're going to review on the podcast, or a movie like this where I'm going to see it regardless what people say about it. I'm a big Jurassic Park fan. I was going to see this movie regardless. So I didn't read any reviews going into this movie. I did check Rotten Tomatoes, and I saw that it was a 70%, which I was actually pretty excited about, because I didn't think that this movie was going to do very well with the critics. Well, after I watched this movie, I was just like, you know what? I'll read a couple of reviews, see what other people thought about it. I had my general idea of what I wanted to say on the podcast anyways. And at least the couple of reviews that I read, it seemed like a lot of people they liked the movie, but they kind of liked it as like a popcorn, like summer blockbuster type of movie. There wasn't a whole lot of depth to the characters or the story. And I actually have to disagree a little bit. I don't think that it was just like it had a ton of depth to the movie or anything, but I thought it did a decent job. I really liked the analogy at the beginning of the movie where they talked about how the visitor rates were kind of down and the people were getting kind of tired of dinosaurs. And I thought it was almost like the movie was pointing fingers at us, like as moviegoers, that we have to take it to such an extreme level because you guys are so used to all these huge summer blockbusters. We kind of feel like we have to step up our game a little bit, because 10 years ago, everybody loved the solo superhero movies. Now it's all about the Avengers. It's just like everybody has taken it to a whole new level. And I felt like that was their way of kind of justifying some of the craziness that was going to happen later in the movie. And so I liked that. And I thought there was a little bit of character development, especially with Bryce Dallas Howard's character. She's very, very robotic and almost like a wet blanket at the beginning. And then she kind of loosens up a little bit towards the end. And so I like that. So I didn't necessarily agree with at least a few reviews I read after seeing the movie. Another thing that kind of struck me after I left this movie was it's technically a sequel. Like I said in my little synopsis, it's 20 years after. And they do acknowledge that the events of the first movie happened. They ignore the two sequels, which, let's be honest, they're not great, But in a vacuum, I think they're decent movies. I don't think that they deserve the shit that they get by critics and just fans of the franchise, because I think as movies, they're decent. They don't stack up to the original at all, but I think they're decent. But this movie felt like it was almost like a remake in a sense, because remakes usually, they happen a long time after the original movie, which is obviously, I think it was like, it's 20 years in the movie, but I think it's actually like 22 years since this movie was released. And they kind of pay homage to the original movie in the remake. And this movie does it a lot. I really liked how the kids stumble across the original park, because Jurassic World was built on the site of the original Jurassic Park.
Isle Nublar?
Sure.
Or something like that.
Yeah. Is it Costa Rica? I think it was Costa Rica, right?
Yeah. There's the two islands. There's the first island that the first one takes place on, and then the Lost World and Jurassic Park.
But they ignore those. So those islands.
Yeah. I mean, those events happened, but they're not brought up in this movie.
I thought they were just ignoring them altogether.
Like, it's part of the timeline, but they just don't bring it up. They don't talk about it.
I think you're wrong. I think they're ignoring it. I think they ignore this one.
I think I'm right.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, I liked how the kids stumble across the original park, which you would think after the events of the first movie that they would have tore down, but they stumble across it and they kind of play the Jurassic Park theme, but with just piano, and it was really subtle, and I liked that a lot. So it kind of had a remake feel to it, even though it is technically a sequel. So just broad strokes, what did you feel about the movie?
I was really nervous about this movie. I wasn't a big fan of the original trailer for it. I thought it looked pretty cheesy. Especially, I thought Chris Pratt looked really wooden in the trailer.
Yeah.
And like he wasn't gonna knock it out of the park like he did with Star-Lord in this movie. So going into finally seeing it, I was a little nervous, and I was, like you, relieved to see on Rotten Tomatoes it had a 70%. And I was actually really surprised by how much I liked this movie.
Yeah.
I liked it quite a bit. It hit all the right notes. Like you said, it balanced nostalgia really well with introducing a new world. I loved the callbacks to Jurassic Park, but it wasn't overbearing.
Yeah, exactly. They did a really good job. Yeah.
This whole new thing. Like you, I don't know why you would just leave the old park.
Yeah.
Like tear that shit down.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool to see for sure. Yeah. Broad strokes wise, I mean, that's really all I had to say. I think that the acting was fine. I loved that Jake Johnson was in this movie.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping when they announced his casting, I was hoping he was going to be like Chris Pratt's sidekick, and they'd be out cracking jokes together about dinosaurs and shit. So I was a bit disappointed that he was just like, the computer guy, but it was also kind of cool. Vincent D'Onofrio's in this, and he's awesome in it as well. What? I
didn't like his character at all.
No, I don't like his character.
Well, I mean, I didn't like his storyline. Obviously, you're not supposed to like his character, but I just didn't like his storyline at all.
Pat, broad strokes. We'll get into that. No, I thought that, I mean, he's an awesome actor.
Yeah.
So he knocked it out of the park, and we'll talk more about his storyline, I guess, here in a second, but I really hated him as a character, which is what he was setting out to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Being one of the villains in the film. For me, this is one of like the best monster movies in years.
Oh, really?
I really liked it. It was scary. Not like I'm nervous scary, like not like a horror movie scary, but it was, in that situation, it was pretty scary. And I don't know. It just really hit all the right notes. It hit all the right notes of a summer blockbuster, which I think is what a lot of reviews are saying. It's very much a popcorn movie. Like, you could poke holes in the plot, and you could tear apart some of the things that happen later in the movie and the climax of the movie as being cheesy. But all in all, it's exactly what a summer blockbuster movie should do.
Yeah.
Especially one that's a sequel to something that came out 20 years ago.
Okay.
So, I don't know. It really just kind of hit home. Like, whenever you get the first view of the park and the original theme kicks in, it's like I got goosebumps. I'm such a huge fan of the original Jurassic Park movie that it kind of delivered.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the story. That's kind of my next little thing now that we're done with our general thoughts about the movie. I generally don't like to know much about the movie. I've stated that plenty of times on the podcast, but I was actually kind of glad that I knew ahead of time the whole training raptors thing, because I was prepared for it. And I kind of, in my mind, had already justified it as, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's 20 years later. It would make sense that people would forget how dangerous they were, and that they do a good job in the original film of explaining how smart and intelligent in comparison to other dinosaurs they are. So it would make sense that they would try something like this. But the whole like, oh man, Chris Pratt driving through the jungle and his motorcycle with the raptors following. I don't know. It was super cheesy.
And that's kind of one of the things I'm talking about when I say you could, a lot of the stuff in the climax you could kind of write off as being a bit too much. And that's one of them. But I think I know where you're headed with this. And like, I don't dislike that they trained raptors. To me, that makes, like you said, I was prepared for it. So the fact that they even spent that much time justifying it, I appreciate, and kind of, there's a whole scene dedicated to how Chris Pratt's done it. The part with Vincent D'Onofrio's character wanting to weaponize it,
yeah,
is really dumb. So I agree with that.
His character, we'll just go ahead, and that's another point that I want to make with the story. Now that we're talking about it, his storyline is just a setup for the other movies. I'm assuming that they're going to make sequels. You don't restart this franchise without the intention of making more movies. And like we said, it's making just a ridiculous amount of money. So there's going to be sequels. And I felt like his storyline was just setting up, because there's that loose thread with him and what's his name from the original movie?
Dr. Wu.
Yeah. Where it just kind of hangs out there. They don't really actually, I mean, there's something that happens to him that I don't want to spoil it, but the Dr. Wu's character, his kind of just,
there's no resolution to Dr. Wu's character.
Exactly. So I just feel like that was just a loose thread that they're just kind of setting up for the other movies. And I hate when movies do that.
Yeah.
I think if you make a sequel, then you make a sequel because the other one movie was good and it was a solid tight movie, but it's just like everybody wants their universes, and so they're just setting up the other movie. So that kind of bothered me. I liked how the T-Rex kind of got I don't want to give too much away, but he got some really good screen time towards the end because he wasn't hardly in this movie.
Yeah, you barely see him early in the movie.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that was a cool callback with the goat. I liked how Bryce Dallas Howard, I always have to pause because I have to think of what order her name's in. Anyways, I liked how she had the flair to get his attention like Jeff Goldblum does in the original movie. Like we mentioned before, they do a really good job in this movie of having subtle callbacks.
Oh, yeah.
And there was plenty of times in this movie where they could have been a lot more in your face about it. Like the kid picks up the goggles, and I thought they were going to say something about how those look super expensive because that's what the lawyer says about them in the original. Or like there's plenty of times where they're like driving and dinosaurs chasing them or whatever, or is about to chase them, and they could have easily said must go faster. Just stuff like that which would have been fun, but at the same time would have been kind of more in your face. Yeah. So I liked how they were a lot more subtle about it. But other than that, I really enjoyed the story. I thought, again, it kind of goes off the rails a little bit towards the end. But like I said, the analogy kind of, I think, is their way of trying to justify the silliness at the end.
Yeah, no, I love the general plot of the movie, like with them creating the new dinosaur and it escaping and that being the main plot of the film. And I thought that the pacing around that was great.
Yeah.
Like the pacing, I was never bored with this movie.
No, not at all.
It was fantastic. So, kudos to them for that.
I really liked how they kept, maybe calling back is not the right way to describe, but they didn't leave something just like open. They do this one scene where, and you see it in the trailer too, where they have the great white hanging and then the big alligator looking thing comes up and grabs it. And there's another scene later with that particular dinosaur. I think it might actually happen twice, doesn't it?
Yeah, it happens a few more times, I think.
And so I really like that they didn't just put that scene in there just for shock and awe.
Yeah.
And that it matters later in the movie. It did kind of take me out a little bit because I thought to myself, are they just sitting there and then the director's like, act surprised? Because I mean, it's clear that it's just digital effects. I mean, it's beautiful digital effects, but what are they reacting to? Like the audience. And that took me out a little bit out of the movie, but that's just because I've seen so many movies. It's it's hard for me to shut that part of my brain off. it was just like, oh, act surprised, and then we're gonna splash some water on you. End scene.
This is going back to the T-Rex, but I read on IMDb's trivia that it's the T-Rex from the original movie, and I don't know how trusted IMDb trivia should be. But,
no, I don't.
I mean, it makes sense. What the fuck else happened to the other T-Rex?
But wouldn't you think in the first one he was full grown or she was full grown? I don't fucking know. They never tell you, I don't think.
They're all girls.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're all girls.
But nature finds a way.
I'm really glad that they didn't say that in the movie because there were so many spots that they could have. But anyways, I don't know how long they live though, because it is 20 years later.
Like I said, I don't know how trusted IMDb trivia
It would be cool if it was. I mean, it looked exactly like the T-Rex in the first one.
That was like the first thing I thought was, oh god, that'd be so awesome if that's the same T-Rex. And that,
it would make sense because why would they need to make a new one? They could easily sedate this one and then put it back in the cage.
Yeah.
Because they use the same fucking island. So
yeah,
it would just be a matter of tracking them down.
I might be crazy too, but I want to say on the monorail, whenever the two kids are going to the park.
Yeah.
Like they're talking or whatever, and the people in front of them are reading, or behind them or somewhere near them are reading a magazine. Book. And on the back of it, I swear to God, I saw Jeff Goldblum. Is it? All right.
I saw the same thing.
I was like, I swear to God, that's him.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool too. I mean, I know that the director of this movie, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. His first name's Colin. He took a lot of shit for not having any of the original cast back. And I read a quote from him saying that he didn't want to have to shoehorn them into this plot that he had come up with. Yeah. Because he didn't think it would be fair to them. And I respect that. And logically, it makes sense because none of them wanted to go back in the other movies. Yeah. And so why logically would they ever want to go back to Jurassic World or Jurassic Park? At this point, I'm like, how do you make another one? Like, how many times can you figure out that this shit does not work? You have a zoo with dinosaurs. But I did like that, and I should have probably brought that up when we were talking about the story. I liked how it was kind of its own story because the park had been operational for a while. Yeah, like they had figured it out. Yeah. And so I liked how they were probably pretty fucking careful when they first started the park. Yeah. And they kind of gotten lazy. And that's what happened because they've been doing it for so long. And so it works in this movie. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like this movie works 100%. Like I believe that this would happen in this world. It's just now for a sequel. Like, how do you justify it? How do you do it again? It's funny. I was like, whenever Jurassic Park 4 was first becoming a thing, like the big rumor was like 10 years ago, was that there were going to be dinosaur human soldier hybrids. And how garbage does that sound? But they kind of like that element. I think that was the original script was that they were going to be like talking dinosaurs or some shit like that. That's terrible. Yeah. So I'm glad that they got away from that, but that you can kind of still see that just a little bit in this movie. Yeah, a little bit. How'd you feel about the CGI? I wish that there wasn't so much of it because the first one's hard. So amazing with the animatronics. And I know that there are some animatronics used in this movie, but definitely not a lot. No. So I thought it was good, but I just, it's just the 1990s version of me wishes that it didn't have to be so much of it, but you can't make a movie like this nowadays with practical effects. Its budget, according to IMDb, which we just talked about, it's kind of fishy as far as whether or not it's correct. Budget was $150 million. There was a couple of spots where you could tell that they were standing in front of a green screen. Yeah. And I know location shoots are expensive, but you could tell like, there was just a couple of scenes where there wasn't a whole lot of depth to it. And so you could tell it wasn't as bad, but I'm just going to kind of make this analogy. It looked like they were standing in front of like they were taking a picture and you have the little backdrop behind you. If it looked like, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe it was a location shoot, but to me, it just looked like they were standing in front of a green screen. I didn't notice it, to be honest, but I'm going to actually go see it again this week and maybe I'll pick up on it this time around. Yeah. The dinosaurs look beautiful. Yeah. I really liked how they did the eyes. That was really cool. Mm-hmm. Not just with the new T-Rex or whatever you want. Indominus Rex. Yeah, I refuse to say that. That's a stupid fucking name. But they even explain that. Yeah. Maybe like why they named it that. Yeah. But with the raptors, they do a lot with the eyes, which I thought was a cool callback because they do that with the T-Rex in the first one. So. Yep. Performances. How'd you feel about the performances? First, can I just say that Bryce Dallas Howard is Jessica Chastain? Like, I don't think that there's a difference.
Have you ever seen them in the same room?
Yeah. No.
That's always a test.
They're the same person.
Yeah.
But
I don't like her
Yeah.
as an actress.
Who? Which one? Both of them? Or
Well, Bryce Dallas Howard. I
Okay.
always have to pause. I thought she was good in this movie though, because, as an actress, she feels robotic. Not just in this movie, but just in her general acting skills. She's always kind of come off as robotic to me. And in this movie, it works because that's kind of her character. Like, she's awkward. She doesn't really understand how to,
super serious.
and she's just a wet blanket the whole time.
Yeah.
And I mean, her character development, it works because later in the movie, she loosens up a little bit, like I mentioned before, but I thought she did really well because that's just how she acts to begin with. So I thought it worked really well in this movie.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't have any problems with any of the performances. I wish Chris Pratt was given a little bit more reign to be Chris Pratty. Like, he was so serious in some scenes, and I just don't see that with him.
Yeah, I don't think he plays the straight action hero very well.
No, I agree.
Like, it worked in Guardians of the Galaxy because there was a lot of comedic lines for him. And I mean, it's such a kind of a laid back character to begin with. Sure, it's an action movie, but in this movie, there was none of that.
Yeah, there was a cringe-worthy part in the trailer, and it made me cringe in the movie as well, where he's like, it depends on what they cook up in that lab.
Yep.
Like, oh man, that's bad.
I mean, he did all right. I wasn't crazy about his performance.
I'm so apologetic for him because I love him so much that I didn't let it bother me.
And they just have no chemistry.
Oh yeah, none.
So
what about the boys?
I liked them. I didn't like I don't think the actors did bad. I don't like that the little kid was kind of like Rain Man. That bothered me because it never really paid off. Yeah. I mean, they trick one of the Raptors at one point because he pushes the button.
Yeah.
But that didn't do it wasn't worth the 10 minutes of him. I was going to make a Rain Man joke, but I couldn't remember what he says. Anyways, it wasn't worth the 10 minutes of him acting autistic.
Yeah. I know, I got you. And I guess Judy Greer is just the go-to for moms. Like, if you need a mom in a movie, you hire Judy Greer.
At least she got more screen time than she did in Tomorrowland. Because if you blink, you miss Judy Greer's in Tomorrowland. Yeah.
No, she was, I like Judy Greer a lot. She was in this movie, so the time that she was in it, so. Yeah. What else? Oh, Jake Johnson. I brought him up once already.
Yeah, for sure.
I could have done with way more Jake Johnson.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He was completely underused in this movie. And he kind of played the character that I think 10 years ago Chris Pratt would have played.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I love the kiss scene. That was so well played, and I laughed out loud. It was easily the funniest part of the movie.
Yeah.
It was played so well.
The theater actually laughed at a lot of his stuff. Like, he was really great. Yeah. I thought it was funny that he's wearing a Jurassic Park shirt.
Yeah.
And that whole scene, I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, but that whole scene regarding that shirt was pretty good. And
there was one little thing with his character, and I get why they don't explain it, and maybe there's some deleted scenes. He has all these dinosaurs on the top of his desk, and he seems to favor one of them, and they never explain why.
What is it? What's it called? The Brachiosaurus?
Sure. You could have said anything except for Triceratops and Tyrannosaurus, and I would have.
The one with the long neck, right?
Yeah.
It's Brachiosaurus.
Sure. They never explain it. Like, at one point he messes with it, and then at the end when he's leaving, he just takes that one. And they never explain why he obviously it doesn't fucking matter in the whole scheme of things, but it just kind of bugged me that they never really explain why.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. He does fidget with it a lot.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter.
Yep.
Well, I think that's all I got.
I think that's about all I have too. Like I said, I thought it was a great thriller. Definitely some moments where I feared for the characters. I was I just think it was a good monster movie. So I thoroughly enjoyed my experience with Jurassic World.
Yeah, for sure. And if they do make a sequel to it, which I'm sure they will.
Because it's making bank.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's making more than the ridiculous amount that they thought it was going to make.
I didn't think it would. I thought it would do well, but I didn't think it would do
I was afraid that it was going to bomb.
When was the last time anybody talked about Jurassic Park? I guess it's just such a nostalgia thing. My Facebook was even lit up with people who never talk about movies.
Yeah.
Just so excited to see this. I think it really is nostalgia.
Yeah. So, star rating?
This could maybe go down in the future after repeat viewings, but for now I'm going to give it a 4.
Oh, really? I was going with 3.5 going back between 3.5 and 3, and I actually settled on 3.
Really?
Because I, like you, think it will eventually go down anyways upon repeat viewings. Because I think some of the more ridiculous things might bother me a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go ahead with 3, but it's definitely the highest 3 that I could possibly give it.
It's kind of funny. Like, we agreed on so much. And then when it was time for I don't think we disagreed on anything. And then it was time for the star rating where there's such a big gap.
I don't know. I just like to save the real high ratings.
I don't know. I think I'm more apologetic than you.
Okay.
For stuff like this. And I think that's what, like I said, it could maybe go down, but I just enjoyed it so much and enjoyed the theater experience and the film going experience so much that I'm going to stick with a 4 for now.
All right, cool, man. Our last segment is just plainly titled Nerd Favorite. We just like to ask each other, what's your favorite blank? We go back and forth each week. I believe it's Tyler's week, so I'll let him introduce it.
All right. So I didn't put this in nerd news because I knew we'd get to it in nerd favorite. Christopher Lee passed away this week, a famous actor. He was, I believe, 92 or 93. 93, I believe. Obviously, he has a huge body of work. I think that he's accredited to like 292 things on IMDb, which is insane. So usually
like 100 short of Steve Buscemi.
So whenever somebody prolific like this passes away, we usually like to take nerd favorite and ask what their favorite movie or performance was. And I'm going to stick with performance on this one. So
sure.
Not favorite movie, his favorite performance, your favorite performance of his. So I'll go ahead and I'll go first really quick. He's had so many iconic roles, but for me, it always has to go back to the first thing I saw him in as a little kid, and that's as Dracula.
Yeah.
I don't remember this movie very well. I know he played Dracula multiple times, and I don't remember which Dracula movie it was. So obviously it wouldn't be my favorite Christopher Lee movie, but his portrayal as Dracula scared me so much as a little kid. I think I saw it on cable late one night, or maybe I saw it at a friend's house. I honestly can't remember, but it was so scary and he was so ominous, and it was such a perfect role for him and his demeanor and his voice that he knocked it out of the park. And that'll always just stick in my memory. So definitely Dracula for me.
Cool. I think he plays bad guys really well because
sure.
I'm actually going to cheat, and there's 2 that I want to talk about, and both of them are bad guys. He was in 2 of my favorite franchises of all time, Star Wars. Unfortunately, he was in the prequels, but he was also in Lord of the Rings. And he played bad guys in both of those franchises. Star Wars, he played Count Dooku, which he was the best part of those prequel. I mean, other than Dark Maul and Phantom Menace, he was definitely the best part of those movies. And he was just fantastic. The scene with him and Yoda, probably one of my favorite scenes of all the Star Wars movies.
That's awesome.
I mean, one of them, not the favorite. And then he played Saruman and the Lord of the Rings, which I think he's only in the first 2. I don't think he's in the last one. I think they cut his scenes from the last one.
Yeah, because he dies in the last one, and they said it was only on the extended DVD.
Yeah. And then, of course, he's in the last Hobbit. I think he's only in the last Hobbit movie, but he's not in the book, and I wasn't crazy about his scene in the Battle of the Five Armies, just because it kind of felt shoehorned just to bridge the gap between those 2 franchises. Well, those 2 trilogies. But he's just fantastic in both of those franchises. He plays bad guys so fucking well, man.
He does.
If
you look through his filmography too, he plays bad guys more than anything else.
Yeah.
Like.
I don't know. I think he just has that demeanor. And I think it takes a special kind of actor to play those roles, because you're not going to be liked, and to really just put forth the effort into a character that people are going to hate. I think it takes a lot of courage and dedication. So I wish I'd seen a lot of his other movies, because there's since his death, a lot of people have been coming out and talking about their favorite performances of his. And they talk about the original Witcher Man, which I didn't even know that terrible Nicolas Cage movie was a remake, but he's in it as well.
I didn't know he was in it.
The Dracula movies, like you mentioned, I mean, there's so many, because like you said, he's in like 200 movies. I wish there was more of his older stuff that I've seen, but really for me, Star Wars and Lord of the Rings are what stand out.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. That was kind of our generation's introduction to him. So
Yeah.
I understand.
All right. Well, I hate to end it on such a somber note, but that's our last segment for this episode. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at The Nerds Podcast, like us on Facebook, follow us on Google+, rate, review us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio. We just got added to TuneIn, which is a new app. Definitely check that out. We'll email us at the nerds you're looking for at gmail.com, where you can just kind of email your comments, suggestions for future episodes, basically whatever. Email us, and if we like it, we might email you back. I think that's about it. Oh, check us out, of course, at Indie PopCon. We are booth 738, 739, something like that.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, I'll only be there Saturday and Sunday. So if you haven't already bought your tickets, just buy Saturday and Sunday.
Please don't come talk to me about myself. I don't know what to say.
You're going to be a sweaty mess the whole Friday.
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. We'll get to reunite with some of our podcast friends that we met last year. We're definitely looking forward to that. So I think that's it, right?
That is it, man.
All right. For Patrick Kuhn,
Tyler Hunt.
we are the nerds you're looking for. Take it easy, guys.
Later.